welcome. This is the Yarn Alchemist podcast with me, Francoise Danois. And here we examine the mindset and mechanism roadblocks that are holding you back from manifesting your full potential as a knitwear designer. Hello there, Yarn Alchemists, and welcome to the Yarn Alchemist podcast. Now today, I'm going to be showing you some of the behind the scenes of my business and some of the tools that I use to really help keep my business on track. And this was actually a new program that I've implemented into Araha Knits to really help me stay accountable and keep all of my eggs in one place. Hello there, Yarn Alchemists, and welcome back to a new episode of the Yarn Alchemist podcast. This is your host, Frenchie of Araha Knits, and I'm very excited for today's episode that I'm going to be sharing with you. So today we're going to be taking a little bit of a behind-the-scenes deep dive into my business and the tools and the systems that I use to help keep things on track. And in fact, this particular tool is something that I've just only recently implemented because I realized that there was a gap in my business that I needed to have filled because I knew there was an area that I was struggling with, and so I knew I had to implement this even though it took the time and mostly the time and effort to get it all set up. So let me just back this up a little bit for you so you can get an understanding of what and why I needed this in my business. So over the past year or so, with all these new projects coming up for me and me expanding the Araha Knits platform and working with multiple people in my team, I realized that it was getting kind of difficult keeping up with all the different projects and all the steps within those projects and all the things that needed to get done, and also making sure that other people on my team also were getting it done as well with me without me having to follow up on them and catch up and make sure that they weren't forgetting anything and that they had all the information that they needed. And so one method that I'd been using for a while was just using the communication application Slack. Just, at the beginning of every week, I'd sit down and write out the weekly tasks for everybody in my team. So I had my tasks for my assistant, and then I'll put in the due dates for her. I did my tasks for my intern, then for my copy editor, and then for my graphic designer, things like that. All these different people on my team, I would write out what their tasks were for the week. And sometimes some weeks they had nothing to do. Other weeks, mostly my assistant would have a long list of things to do on top of the recurring weekly and daily tasks that she had to do already, like checking emails, checking Instagram, checking my Facebook groups, just making sure everything was up to date there. So she definitely had a lot of moving parts, and sometimes it was easy just to let some things slip and fall to the wayside, and then I'll have to remind her to do, to bring it back up again. And I was just thinking, even though this was working okay for now, I just felt that behind the scenes that things were just a little bit flustered and just disorganized, and I was just scrambling all the time. And this became really apparent when I started releasing single patterns from the Fiber Muse quarterly issues, when I had to do that on a every second week basis. And it just felt like I didn't know what it would look like on the outside of this business, but on the inside, it just was like a total mess. It would just be going from different places. I'd be missing deadlines. I would be doing my launches the day short or something like that. I just felt like I was scrambling. Like the day of, I'd wake up and be like, oh no, I need to post this on Instagram too, so people are aware of something that's going on coming up really soon. So it was just really flustering, and I was just thinking, is this what being a CEO is like? If it is, I'm not sure if I really like that, because it just felt like, is everybody else struggling with, feeling disorganized, and it's always messy behind the scenes, and you're always having to catch up with your team members to make sure that they're on task and making sure that you're on task as well. It just didn't really quite flow for me, because I'd like to have some structure in my business, so I could so the things that I had to do every day, I didn't have to really think about. I could just see and be like, oh, okay, that's what I need to do today. Also see what projects were coming up so I could start working that ahead of time and just feel not so stressed out about all the things I had to do. And I was thinking, I guess this is just the part of being a CEO and things like that. I'm just going to live with it. Well, thankfully, my friend Chelsea, on our coaching day together, she told me that it was time to get my systems in order. And I was thinking, what are you even talking about? What's this systems talk that you're telling me? And she said that I needed to get a project management system. And the project management system that I was using already was basically Slack, which was for the communications, and then my daily planner where I'd written down all of my, and let me see, where is my planner? Here it is, my daily planner, where I write down, for example, in the beginning of the month, all of the upcoming deadlines and things like that, helping me stay on track, my weekly tasks and things like that. Let me see if I can find a page. My weekly tasks, making sure my plan for the overall week, and then making sure I stayed on track every day. And that was working well for me. And I do want to say I still use this on top of the system that I currently use. But I needed something that was a little bit more automatic, more systemized, and creating a book of operations, so that way for these automatic tasks, or whenever I have a launch coming up, or I have to create a new pattern release or something like that, I had this list of things that I already knew worked from before, and I just had to replicate that instead of trying, because even though I knew all those steps already in my head, it was just so much easier just to have it out on paper, so you didn't have to think about it so much. So I could focus that thinking energy on creating new designs and new products, and I didn't have to sit around waiting and trying to figure out, okay, I know what the next step is, but I've just forgotten right now. And I could just go to my workflow and just see it all there for me. And so Chelsea encouraged me and challenged me to get all of my systems up and running and get all of my workflows, all of my systems, everything written out and in a automated system. And the project management tool that I chose is called Asana, and I'm actually going to show you a little bit behind the scenes of what this is. It's not going to be a tutorial on how to use Asana, but it's just hopefully give you an insight into how I use it, how it's helped my business. And so that way, if you're looking for a project management tool, I know there are other ones, like Trello and things like that, but for me personally, Asana is the one that I use, and I've really enjoyed it so far. So let's take a look over here. We're going to switch over to the computer screen. Also, another reason why, if you're listening to this on audio, watching the video version might be a little bit more helpful. I'll try to be as descriptive as possible, but a lot of this is going to be on screen. So let's switch over to there right now. Alrighty, so here is the back end of my Asana here. And so personally, I've actually taken some classes on how to use Asana to get up to speed with it, as fast as possible, because when you log into Asana and create an account, you can notice that it can be a little bit overwhelming. You're just like, where is everything? How do I use this? And so by taking these classes, I've been able to learn the ins and outs of this program, and also trying to figure out that it's more than just, putting your tasks in your to-do list and things like that. There's more to it than that. So, but first of all, let me just show you an example, like for some uses for Asana. So here I have created a template for my different types of launches. I got my Swatch Studio launch, I got my 5 News Challenge launches, I got my collection launches, and then I got my single pattern launches. And so the first thing I did was just, dump everything I needed to do into Asana to create a checklist, and then I just had to organize it into nice sections. So for example, I knew that I'd write up promotion posts for my patterns and things like that, so I wrote that all down. Obviously, I knew I had to upload my patterns to Ravelry and things like that, so I put in all the instructions for that as well. But some other really cool things about Asana is that, here, it looks like a checklist, but actually, because this is a template, when I can copy this template and then kind of just customize it for a launch that I've got coming up. For example, I recently released a little Acts of Kindness launch pattern. So what I did is just copy that template, renamed it Little Acts of Kindness, and then just as we went through, we'd tick off all the tasks that we did, and I could assign it to the people that needed to. So here, I got I got myself signed, so that's for me to do. But then also got my assistant Sarah on some of these tasks too, along with the deadline. But as I was saying, not only is it a good way for the check, making sure that you're on task for everything, but it's a good place to kind of store all the information that you need to ensure that your launch or whatever you're doing is a success, and everything is in one place. So for example, for my single patterns, I know that I have to write some copy, I have to write the promotion, I have to write the newsletter. So I like to keep it all in one place on Google Drive. So I have a link here that I just go to and edit and write up and things like that. So that way it's easy for me to get to when I am uploading to my newsletter. Same thing for creating the graphics. I just keep all the links there to make it easy to pull through, because of course I can remember what these all are, but just having it in one place makes it easier for everybody. And also just important for me to know that someday maybe I'll be handing off this, the single pattern launches off completely to my assistant or to somebody else. I wouldn't even have to touch this, and this is all for them to know and have in one place. So it's kind of like, a book of operations. They have what to do, where to get it, where to pull it from, how to do it, and things like that. And so one thing I also found out that was really cool when I was doing like the promotion, like trying to figure out, promotion preparation, and also when to post. So I divided up my single pattern launches kind of like into 2 steps. I got the promotion prep, because I know I have to prepare to write up all of the promotional posts and things like that, such as the newsletters. But then I've also got the dates that I want to post them on. And so one cool thing is that Asana kind of also works like an editorial calendar. So for example, on this section here, the promotion dates, I have all these places here for the teasers. On the due dates, I can assign it a special due date. So let me just see, for an example. And I'll go to my calendar, and it kind of works as a editorial calendar for me, so I can see exactly when these posts are going out and what day they're going. And so this was something that I had been, wanting to figure out for a while. Kind of because I wanted to have, I want to be able to see when these posts have to be due by, but also just don't want to have to write them up, the day that they're due. So I had the dates where I knew when I wanted them posted, but then I also had to create a separate section of saying, okay, when you want to post them, now that you actually want to write them out ahead of time, like by a few days. So that's kind of why I split up the promotion prep and the promotion dates into 2 sections. I also have this special, one of my favorite things about this is kind of creating this editorial calendar. So that way I've split it up in by the months here, and I also can just see when these different blog posts or episodes are coming out, and then also just all the steps here, because as a side note, Asana also has tasks, the projects is the main page, tasks, which you see on the left hand side of the screen, and then they have subtasks. Even the tasks have the tasks. And so in there, again, it's just like, before, just, checking in, assigning them to the right people, assigning the due dates and things like that. So here, I got the actual day that I want this blog post to be going online. As you can see, I can see exactly when these are going on. And then just to make sure, to prevent myself from getting overwhelmed from all these little tasks and things like that, having the subtasks, all these little tasks that I need to do to make sure that I get the most out of the promotion for this. And I have my things split up into several kind of subcategories. So for example, I've got the executive, marketing, product or program creation, services, operations, and then my personal goals. And so here you can actually see everybody that's on my team that I have to manage. So that's like 5 people on my team. Of course, they all work in varying levels and things like that. My main team person is Sarah, but it makes it really easy for communication between the both of us, because I can assign her to a task that she gets in her inbox and in her upcoming tasks, and then I can also tag her in conversations, even in tasks and things like that. Of course, we keep most of our conversation up in Slack, but just having these, I don't really have to tell her, okay, this is what you need to do, because it already tells her already. And talking about that, for example, let me see if I can find this. So for example, we know every month that we need to load up Buffer with the new daily threads. So if you're in my 5 News circle group or the Swatch Studio group, those daily threads that go up every day, those have to be refilled every month, because they do run out. And so that's like an easy thing to, it's like, oh yeah, we have to do this every month. And sometimes we forget, we let those slide by. So just having it in here and basically set as a recurring task can help us, remind us without us having even to think. Like, it tells us automatically when we got to do it. when to do those recurring simple tasks, but they're kind of like vital to the heartbeat of the brand, or keeping it going and things like that. So Asana's also really helped me, and any project management tool, I would say, it just really helps me take the brain power out of trying to think up, okay, what do I have to do next, what do I have to do today, how do I make I got all these little things to do, how can I keep it all together, not feel flustered, make sure everything goes out on time and things like that. It takes that away from completely, so that way I can focus on the tasks that I need to do. And additionally, because I'm creating these workflows and these books of operations, your book of operations for my launches and challenges and how it all goes, if I want to hand it off to somebody, to my assistant or to somebody else in the future, so I can focus solely on designing, I don't have to worry so much about handing that off, because all the steps that I do is there, and they just have to copy and paste and just implement it for me. It's a huge difference. Like, only me, I'm the only person who can design for my brand. That's like 100% me, and only I can do it. But anybody can upload a newsletter into ConvertKit. Anybody can create a graphic. Anybody can copy and paste my pattern romance into different formats and things like that. Anybody can do it. And sometimes it feels like it can't be, has to be exactly perfect. But again, if you know me, you know that I'm always advocating, to everything doesn't have to be perfect. Strive for just getting it done versus having it to be perfect. Because if you're striving for perfection, nothing's ever going to get done. And that's definitely something I've had to learn, especially, and now to try even hand off more tasks to my assistant and to my team. It's going to be an even bigger exercise in trust and making sure that the system works. So that's kind of just how the basic overview of how Asana has really helped out my business and just making sure I don't miss anything important. Another really cool thing about Asana is that I can forward emails, really important emails, straight into Asana as a task. So for example, here was an email that was between me and Claire of We Love Knitting. I'll just, just in case I don't want to show you the full email there. But I remember that being a rather important email, and how emails, we can get kind of overwhelmed by them, just seeing all the emails in our inbox. I just forward it into Asana, and that way I know exactly which emails I have to answer. I can just, draft up my answer and then just go back into my Gmail, find that email, and then forward it off, and then just tick it off here saying that's done. So it just helps me really focus and hone in on what emails are really important without getting overwhelmed by staying in my inbox, because you definitely want to spend the least amount of time in your inbox when you're working, because it can just get so overwhelming. You just want to focus on what's the most important, get those answered, and then you're done. So yeah, that kind of like a little tour of Asana. This is more just me kind of showing how I found there was an issue going on in my brand that needed to be fixed. Just me needing a better and more automated project management system instead of relying on pencil and paper, even though that had been working for me for a while. I had found myself at a point where I had outgrown that, and I needed to find a higher level program to really help me focus on automating things that needed to be automated, so I could focus more and stay more in my area, my zone of genius, as I really like to say. So thank you so much for watching and listening to today's episode. I'll post all the links, so I can post a link to Asana, as well as some courses that really helped me get up to speed with Asana. My favorite course, these non-affiliated links, these are just, courses and programs that I found to be really helpful and get me up to speed. And I do highly recommend getting set up with a project management system, and knowing that can be really intimidating, because talking from experience, this was, I've tried to use Asana before, and this was the third time I've done it. Like the previous 2 times, I'll try writing out my tasks, then I'll just be like, no, I have no idea how this works. I'm way too intimidated. There's just so much here. I don't know how to organize things. And then the third time when Chelsea's like, you just need to get this done, I was like, okay, I'm going to go out and find the help that I need, so that way I can start using this program to help me the way that I need in my business. So usually when you're getting overwhelmed by these types of programs, there are plenty of courses out there to help you get up to speed for them. So anyway, thank you so much for watching today's episode. If you're enjoying the content and the the videos that are released twice a month, 2 or 3 times a month, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can actually get these episodes a day early, as well as spending 1 hour with me every month for a virtual knit night, as well as getting a free pattern every month. And that's just starting at the $5 level. And for higher levels, you can also get a special one-on-one coaching call with me where we can deep dive into any pattern design questions that you may have, as well as, getting up your pattern for launch and things like that. Anything that you have related to the knitwear design process, I'm more than happy to help you out. You can just shoot me an email or head over to Patreon at patreon.com/arahanets. And thank you so much, guys, for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time. And in the meantime, keep transforming your yarn. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Yarn Alchemist podcast. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer on a future episode, go to www.arahanets.com/contact to submit your query. See you next time.